Episode 6. The Twisted Summit. 1. Breaking Point. Months slipped by in a blur. Dr. Anneliese Breen's updates from the island trickled in fitfully. She described an ever-expanding research agenda, rumored shipments of specialized lab equipment, and hushed arrivals of elite military units. Yet she lacked direct evidence of the super soldier program. Security had tightened drastically since the team's visit. Then came a frantic, coded message. Decrypted by Dan, it read, "Urgent. They're relocating materials for mass cultivation of the plant. Phase 0 of human trials underway. Time running short." The group convened once again, this time in a small apartment belonging to a friend of Meredith's who was out of town. They spoke in whispers, mindful of potential surveillance devices. Miles. If they truly mass cultivate the plant, that changes the game. We're talking large-scale production of darmaline, possibly thousands of doses. The ramifications, Meredith, grim, are horrifying. We can't just stand by. Carlos. We can't expose everything either, but we need to leak at least enough to trigger a real investigation or slowdown, something to stall them. A sense of finality gripped them. They were on the verge of stepping over the line from reluctant bystanders to active whistleblowers. All recognized the risk, but was there any moral alternative? 2. The call for aid. Dan identified a Pulitzer Prize-winning journalist, Roxanne Church, famous for exposing high-level government corruption and safeguarding her sources. Through anonymous channels, he reached out with a teaser, references to a top-secret island facility, and a psychoactive compound beyond LSD. He also referenced ties to multiple black-budget programs. To their relief, Church responded with cautious interest, requesting proof. The group debated how much to reveal. Eventually, they decided to show her heavily redacted fragments of Dr. Breen's documents, enough to pique her without fully exposing them. Church replied with a promise to investigate further, but insisted she would need more solid evidence to publish anything. "This is too big to go on speculation alone," she wrote. 3. Return to the source. In a bold and desperate move, the group decided to reapproach the island secretly. The idea sounded insane, but Dr. Breen confirmed that the main approach was so heavily guarded it was nearly impossible. However, she hinted at an older back channel, a hidden cove on the island's far side with fewer patrols. If they could land undetected, they might gather photographic and biological evidence of the mass cultivation, something that would prove beyond doubt what the U.S. government was doing. Miles pored over the archived coordinates they had from the previous expedition. He hypothesized a route that could evade the main facility's radar. The plan: rent a smaller boat from an acquaintance in Tahiti, sail under false pretenses as eco-tourists, approach the cove by night. Their window was tight, and success far from guaranteed. Meredith. We have to try. Otherwise, the next time we hear about darmaline will be from rumors of bizarre military operations or an international crisis. The entire group agreed to go, though fear gripped them. They prepared meticulously: fake passports, unmarked equipment, night vision cameras, portable soil sample kits, and encrypted satellite phones. This was no longer a purely academic journey, it was an undercover operation. 4. Midnight landing. A month later, they found themselves on a small schooner named Moonflower, purchased through a shell account Dan had set up. The crossing from Tahiti took nearly a week, navigating open seas in a zigzag pattern to avoid suspicion. Tension ran high. Any sign of a military vessel could spell doom. They reached the island's vicinity around 2 a.m. on a moonless night. The thick fog seemed to cloak the island once again, as if it recognized them. Using carefully plotted GPS coordinates, this time cross-referenced with older charts that might still be inaccurate, they aimed for the hidden cove Dr. Breen had mentioned. The small schooner glided in, sails furled to minimize noise. Through night vision binoculars, Jamie scouted the rocky shore. No obvious signs of patrols. They deployed an inflatable raft and paddled silently to land. The sand felt cold and damp underfoot, a chilling echo of their first arrival. Miles, whispering, "We're here again. Part of me can't believe it." Meredith, softly, "Me neither. Let's not linger. The facility must be inland." They concealed the raft among rocks, covering it with netting. Then they switched on infrared headlamps, slipping into the jungle's dark embrace. 5. Into the lion's den. Stealthily navigating overgrown trails, they moved deeper inland. The night was eerily silent, except for rustling leaves and distant animal calls. The group wore black clothing, heads on swivels. An hour in, they spotted the perimeter fence topped with razor wire. Beyond it lay newly erected greenhouses illuminated by faint security lights. Even from a distance, they saw rows and rows of the violet-blue flowers, Floris tenebris, in mass cultivation. Carlos gasped. This was no small research plot. It resembled a commercial-scale operation. They recorded video with thermal cameras, capturing images of armed guards patrolling the greenhouse area. A small drone hovered overhead, presumably a security measure. Dan, whispering, "We have to be extremely careful. One ping from the drone's sensors, and we're caught." Jamie, "We need definitive footage, though. Let's get closer." Inching along the fence line, they found a spot where heavy foliage shielded them from the overhead drone's line of sight. From there, they zoomed in with high-resolution cameras. The images were stark. Uniformed personnel tending rows of the psychoactive plants, racks of sophisticated equipment, boxes labeled Floris tenebris, handle with care. Meredith silently documented everything with a date-time stamp, ensuring that no one could dismiss it as fabricated. They also took soil samples at the fence's edge, hoping to prove the presence of the compound. The stakes felt impossibly high. 6th reunion with an alley. Suddenly, a soft voice hissed from behind. Voice. "Over here!" They whirled around, ready to flee or fight. Relief washed over them when they recognized Dr. Breen, partially hidden behind thick ferns. She beckoned them to follow her. They hesitated. Was it a trap? But her eyes pleaded trust. They slithered through a narrow gap in the fence that Dr. Breen had apparently prepared. Inside, near a cluster of storage crates, they crouched behind a half wall. She whispered urgently, "Dr. Breen, you shouldn't have come. Security is insane, but I can help you get what you need." Miles, "We have some footage already. We need more. Official memos, data on these super soldier trials." Dr. Breen, "Follow me. There's a lab building on the eastern side. We can access the servers from a back door if we're quick." Their hearts hammered as they dashed across open ground to a nondescript building. At the rear entrance, Dr. Breen swiped a security card. The door clicked open. They stepped into a dimly lit corridor lined with sealed labs. Flickering fluorescence hummed overhead. 7. The ultimate evidence. Leading them to a cramped server room, Dr. Breen typed a code into a locked cabinet. Inside lay a large workstation. She inserted a flash drive, bypassing multiple security protocols. Lines of code scrolled. Dan helped navigate, searching for the specific project files referencing Operation Synthesis, the rumored super soldier initiative. Success! They found encrypted folders detailing trials on volunteer soldiers microdosed with dormaline to enhance sensory awareness, reaction times, and cognitive processing. Some logs recounted horrifying side effects: permanent paranoia, time dysmorphia, suicides. The data was damning, replete with official letterheads and military codenames. They copied everything onto external drives. Time felt like it stretched endlessly, yet also threatened to snap at any moment. At last, the transfer completed. They had the smoking gun, proof of large-scale cultivation and unethical experimentation. Dr. Breen, You have to get out of here. If they catch you with this, it's game over. Miles, come with us. They'll suspect you once we leak these files. You'll be safer beyond their reach. Dr. Breen, sad smile. I can't. Not yet. Too many colleagues here who aren't complicit. I can still protect them from the inside. Tears glistened in Jamie's eyes as she hugged Dr. Breen in gratitude. Then the alarm sounded. 8. The chase. A blaring siren cut through the air. Red lights flashed across the corridor. The group froze for a split second. Dr. Breen panicked. They know you're here. Go. Now. Without hesitation, they sprinted. Dr. Breen dashed in the opposite direction, presumably to create a diversion. Armed soldiers poured into the hallways, shouting orders. The team ducked into a side exit, slipping out as bullets ricocheted off steel walls. Heart pounding, Miles led them around the back of the building. They vaulted crates, dodged searchlights, and hurled themselves through the hole in the perimeter fence. Shots rang out behind them. Bark from a tree exploded near Carlos's head. Adrenaline surged. They raced through the jungle, barely navigating by starlight. At one point, Dan tripped and fell, losing grip of the flash drive. Jamie dove back to grab it, stuffing it in her pocket. The guards were close. The night seethed with chaos, shouting, barking dogs, helicopter rotors whirring in the distance. Finally, the cove lay before them. The raft was still there, hidden under netting. They tumbled in, paddling madly to the Moonflower. Under covering darkness, they hoisted the raft on board, started the engine, and steered away from shore. The island receded once more, looming as a dark silhouette. 9. The surprising end at sea. They aimed for open waters. The plan was to vanish beyond radar range, then plot a course to an unassuming port where they could slip away. But fate had other plans. Barely an hour into their flight, an approaching helicopter cut through the sky. A searchlight played across the waves. Realizing they were spotted, the group prepared for the worst. Suddenly, the air shimmered. A thick fog materialized out of nowhere, enveloping the boat. The helicopter's spotlight pierced the mist, but failed to find them. The pilot circled overhead, then drifted away, presumably confounded by the sudden low visibility conditions. Meredith recognized something about the electromagnetic or meteorological phenomenon that shielded the island. Now it seemed to cloak them protectively. Meredith, softly, "It's like the island itself is helping us escape." Jamie, "Or the plants field is resonating with us. Either way, I'm not complaining." Within minutes, the helicopter gave up. The team navigated carefully, trusting the digital compass. Slowly, the fog lifted, revealing open ocean. They exhaled in collective relief, realizing they had escaped. 10th final revelation. Days later, the group arrived at an obscure marina in Fiji. Exhausted, battered, but triumphant. Over a secure connection, they uploaded the trove of evidence to Roxanne Church, the journalist. She was stunned by the volume and credibility of the data. Plans were made for a bombshell exposé. Yet, in the final twist, Roxanne Church never published. 2 days after acknowledging receipt of the files, her phone went dead. The team's attempts to contact her were met with silence. Investigating, Dan discovered that her entire online presence vanished. Social media accounts wiped, email addresses disabled, even archives of her previous articles suspiciously purged. Panic seized them. Had she been taken? They had believed Church was untouchable, but apparently no one was immune to black ops. The group realized they were dealing with powers that could erase reputations and vanish individuals. They had the files, but any attempt to leak them through official media might be suppressed with similar ruthlessness. And here came the final, most haunting revelation. As they weighed their next move, they found an encoded message on Dan's hidden server. It was from Commander Pierce, or at least it used his signature cryptographic key. The message read, "You cannot win this. The world is not ready, nor will it ever be. If you persist in trying to reveal our work, more will vanish. The illusions of freedom are strong, but illusions nonetheless. Attached was a single image. Doctor. Breen in a high-security cell, face bruised, staring blankly at the camera. They stared at the screen in horror. The truth battered them. The unstoppable machine they were up against. The reality that no matter how damning the evidence, those in power could always bury it. In that moment, they realized Mount Analogue was more than an island. It was a metaphor for the impossible summit of truth, always obscured by clouds of secrecy and power. They had glimpsed the underpinnings of reality, both mystical and political. Yet they stood powerless to share that cosmic vista with a world that might not even want it. The story ended not with triumphant disclosure, but with a deeper, more unsettling awakening. They would forever bear the knowledge of what lay beyond humanity's limited perceptions, and how easily that knowledge could be snuffed out by those who fancied themselves guardians or exploiters of the hidden truths. The cost of enlightenment was to walk a perilous path between revelation and annihilation, haunted by the question of whether real change was even possible in a world so adept at erasing inconvenient realities. Author's note/diary excerpt. April 12, 2025. They say knowledge sets one free, but in our case, it has become a gilded cage. We know the shape of the bars, the illusions they cast, and yet we cannot escape them. Commander Pierce told us the world wasn't ready to see beyond the veil. Maybe he's right, or maybe we're all just too afraid to break the illusions. For now, we hold on to our diaries, our encrypted files, our painful memories of that island and its impossible plant. We each wonder if, someday, a crack in the armor of secrecy might appear, letting the truth seep through. Until then, our hearts remain with Dr. Breen, wherever she might be. Beyond the maps, beyond the illusions, there lies an island that proves how narrow our understanding of reality truly is. Entry from Jamie Rooney's diary, written in the third person, never published. Epilogue. Despite the enormous challenges, the 5 individuals and their experiences did not vanish into total oblivion. Rumors persisted on obscure corners of the internet. Whispers of a hidden island, a top-secret research facility, a plant more potent than LSD. Some conspiracy forums posted blurred photos and half-legible documents. Most readers dismissed them as hoaxes, but a few took heed, quietly passing the data around, dissecting every fragment. In the end, the official narrative triumphed in the mainstream, maintaining that no such island existed, that Dr. Miles Pendleton's expedition had been a misguided attempt overshadowed by storms and rumor. Caltech eventually ended Miles's tenure after he failed to reintegrate into normal academic work. Meredith continued her oceanographic studies but lost her easy optimism. Jamie left her PhD program, traveling the world in search of intangible truths. Dan and Carlos drifted into freelance tech jobs, forever haunted by the knowledge they could never share openly. They stayed loosely connected through coded messages, always watching their backs. Yet, each night, in private moments, they closed their eyes and saw, once more, the swirling fractals and cosmic unity revealed by Dormaline. They remembered how reality had seemed so much vaster and more alive than anyone dared imagine. And in those fleeting instants, they felt a bittersweet conviction that somewhere, beyond the horizon of official maps and official truths, Mount Analogue still stood, a monument to humanity's boundless capacity for awe and the equally boundless potential for denial. The end.